Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is where you get your daily dose of AWS and artificial intelligence topics. And to all our returning viewers, thank you for joining me once again, and it's great to have you back. Today we're diving into AWS App Runner and AWS App2Container. Whether you're here to learn something new or brush up your cloud skills, this video has got you covered. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and let's keep building our AWS and artificial knowledge together, one daily dose at a time. So I asked DeepSeek R1, what is the difference between AWS App Runner and AWS App2Container? So he thinks first before answering. In his thoughts, he said, okay, I need to figure out the difference between AWS App Runner and AWS App2Container. Let me start by recalling what I know about these services. First, AWS App Runner. From what I remember, App Runner is a service that simplifies deploying containerized applications. It's supposed to be easy to use, maybe even without needing to manage the underlying infrastructure. I think it's similar to services like Heroku, where you just push your code or container and it handles the deployment, scaling, and maybe even the build process. So if you have a web app in a container, App Runner takes care of running it, scaling up and down as needed, and handling load balancing. Now, AWS App2Container. The name suggests something about moving applications to containers. Maybe it's a tool to migrate existing applications into containers. Like if you have a legacy app running on a server, App2Container could help package it into a container so you can run it on ECS or EKS. That makes sense. So it's more about containerization of existing applications rather than deploying them. It probably helps in the process of taking a non-containerized app, analyzing it, and creating the necessary Docker files or container images. Wait, so AppRunner is for deploying containerized apps or even for source code as a service, while App2Container is a tool to containerize existing applications. So they serve different purposes in the application lifecycle. App2Container is part of the preparation phase, getting your app into a container, and AppRunner is part of the deployment phase, running the container in a managed environment. But I should check if there's overlap. For example, does AppRunner also help in containerizing apps? I don't think so. AppRunner's documentation mentions that you can deploy from source code like GitHub and it builds the container for you. But that's it. You're starting from source. But that's but that's if you're starting from source. App2Container is more for taking an already built application, maybe a .NET app or Java app, running on a VM or physical server and containerizing it. Another angle, target audience. AppRunner is for developers who want to deploy their web applications quickly without worrying about infrastructure. App2Container is for DevOps or engineers who need to modernize existing applications by moving them to containers, perhaps a part of a cloud migration strategy. Also, considering integration with other AWS services, AppRunner probably integrates with ECR, Container Elastic Container Registry for container images, and maybe Code Pipeline for CI/CD. App2Container might integrate with ACS, EKS, or other container orchestration services once the app is containerized. Deployment scenarios. If I have a new app written in Node.js, I could push it to AppRunner directly from my repo, and it handles the build and deployment. If I have an old ASP.NET running on IIS, I'd use App2Container to analyze it, create a Docker image, and then deploy that image to ECS or EKS or even AppRunner. Another point, AppRunner is a fully managed service, so you don't deal with servers or clusters. App2Container is a tool that runs on an existing server to package app into containers, which then can be deployed anywhere, including managed services. I should also think about the workflow. With App2Container, the process might involve installing the app or the tool on the server where the app is running, analyzing the app, generating Docker files and images, then pushing to a registry. App Runner's workflow is more about connecting a repo or image, setting up the service, and deploying. Are there any other differences? Maybe in terms of supported languages or runtimes. App Runner supports any containerized app, so whatever is in the container. If deploying the source, if deploying from source, it might have specific runtimes like Python, Node.js, etc. App2Container probably supports specific legacy frameworks like .NET, Java, etc., since those are common in on-premises setups. Cost models might differ too. AppRunner charges based on usage, virtual CPU, and memory, while App2Container is a tool that might be free or have a different pricing structure, perhaps part of AWS migration tools. So, summarizing, the main differences are the purpose. App2Container is for containerizing existing apps. AppRunner is for deploying containerized apps as a service. Use case: App2Container helps in migrating modernization. AppRunner helps in deployment and management. Target users: App2Container for DevOps or sysadmins modernizing apps. AppRunner for developers deploying apps quickly. Integration: App2Container outputs containers for ECS EKS, while AppRunner deploys containers or source code as a service. Managed service versus tool: AppRunner is a managed service, while App2Container is a tool you run on servers. I need to make sure there's no confusion between the two. They are complementary in a way. Use App2Container to containerize an app, then deploy it via AppRunner, but they serve different primary functions. AWS, so this is his final answer. AWS AppRunner and AWS App2Container serve distinct purposes within the AWS ecosystem, catering to different stages of the application lifecycle. There's a structured breakdown. Here's a structured breakdown of their differences. Number one, primary purpose. AWS AppRunner, a fully managed service designed to deploy and scale containerized web applications quickly. It abstracts infrastructure management, handling deployments, scaling, and load balancing. AWS App2Container, a migration and modernization tool that helps containerize existing applications, example .NET and Java, running on servers or VMs, preparing them for cloud deployment. Number two, key, u- key use cases. AppRunner, deploying web apps, APIs from source code, example GitHub or container images, simplifying DevOps for developers by managing infrastructure, ideal for modern cloud-native apps or microservices. App2Container, legacy application modernization by converting monolithic apps into containers, migrating on-premises or VM-based apps to AWS Container Services, ECS and AKS, generating Docker files, images, and deployment artifacts for existing apps. Number three, target users. AppRunner, developers seeking a serverless like experience for deploying apps without managing servers or clusters. App2Container, DevOps or IT teams modernizing legacy setup systems or migrating applications to the cloud. Number four, workflow. AppRunner. Number one, connect to a code repository or container registry. Number two, configure runtime settings, example port, autoscaling. Number three, deploy. AppRunner handles builds, networking, and scaling. App2Container Number one, install the tool on the server hosting the app. Number two, analyze the app's dependencies and runtime. Number three, generate Docker files, build images, and generate deployment manifests for EKS and ECS. Number five, integration with AWS services. App Runner integrates with ECR, Container Registry, AWS Code Pipeline, CI/CD, and VPC for networking. App2Container outputs artifacts compatible with ECS or EKS or other Kubernetes platforms. Number six, managed service versus tool. App Runner, a managed service with pay-as-you-go pricing, virtual CPU, or memory usage. App2Container, a free tool for containerization. Costs arise when deploying to other services, example ECS or EKS. Number seven, supported technologies. App Runner, any containerized app via ECR or apps built from source in supported runtimes, Node.js, Python, etc. App2Container focuses on legacy frameworks like .NET, IIS, or .exe, Java, Tomcat, WebSphere, and PHP. Complementary use. Use App2Container to containerize legacy apps, then deploy them via App Runner for a fully managed runtime. Example, containerize an old ASP.NET app and App2Container with App2Container, push the image to ECR and deploy it via App Runner for automated scaling. In essence, App2Container prepares your app for the cloud while App Runner simplifies running it there. They are often used together in modernization journeys. Right, so don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and press the super thanks button and put some money there to help me buy some food. Okay, cool, thanks, bye.